If giant footprints are not enough to convince even the most hardened skeptic, then giant tools and artifacts might not budge their restricted perceptions either. However, consider these. In June 1936, Max Hahn and his wife Emma were on a walk when they noticed a rock with wood protruding from its core. They took the rock home and later cracked it open with a hammer and chisel. What they found within seemed to be an ancient hammer. A team of archaeologists checked it and determined the rock encasing the hammer was dated back more than 400 million years. The hammer itself turned out to be more than 500 million years old, according to the same measurement. Apparently, it's so old that a section of the handle had begun the transformation to coal. The hammer's head, made of more than 96% iron, is far more pure than anything nature could have achieved without an assistance from technology. There have been a number of intriguing finds in Indiana over the years, including the discovery of 8 skeletons, one clad in copper armor, buried in a perfect circle. In 1888, the Logan Greys, a military group led by A.M. Jones, were conducting military exercises on a small island on Eagle Lake near Warsaw, Indiana. Under a flat stone, they discovered a hole that led to an entrance to a secret cave that was 25 feet long, 15 feet wide, and 8 feet deep. Inside was the skeleton of a 6'9" giant, buried next to a stream that led to what was called a sacred pool. In 1889, near Kewanna, standing stones were found on a mound, and underneath, another giant was unearthed. While in Whitlock, Indiana, another giant was found in association with a group buried in a seating position. One of the largest finds on record was reported in A History of Jennings County, Indiana, published in 1885. It was reported that in 1881, a 9-foot-tall skeleton was unearthed in a local mound, along with the body of a blonde-haired child. And finally, in 1912, an enormous jaw was dug up that had double rows of teeth, a unique characteristic of some giants discovered in other parts of the country as well. What is believed to be the largest Indian stone axe in existence is among the collections of the Missouri Historical Society. The axe is made of granite. It measures 28 inches in length, 14 inches in width, and 11 inches in thickness, and weighs more than 300 pounds. When found, the pointed end was embedded in a small mound of boulders and pebbles, with the body and head of the axe exposed, the whole apparently forming a shrine or altar. The axe resembles a tomahawk pipe. Its upper end or head is slightly hollowed out, and in this depression was ceremoniously placed a small quantity of tobacco. A well-beaten moccasin trail led up the incline of the eminence in which the shrine stood, indicating that the place had long been used for religious purposes. According to Chippewa tradition, the axe has been held in veneration by these Indians from time immemorial. The Guadeloupe woman is a well-authenticated discovery which has been in the British Museum for over half a century. In 1812, on the coast of the French Caribbean island of Guadeloupe, a fully human skeleton was found, complete in every aspect except for the feet and head. It belonged to a woman about 5 foot 2 inches tall. What makes this of great significance is the fact that this skeleton was found inside extremely hard, very old limestone, which was part of a formation more than a mile in length. Modern geological dating places this formation at 28 million years old, which is 25 million years before modern man is supposed to have first appeared on Earth. Since such a date for a regular person does not fit evolutionary theory, you will not find Guadeloupe woman mentioned in any hominid textbooks. To do so would be to disprove evolutionary dating of rock formations. When the 2-ton limestone block containing Guadeloupe woman was first put on exhibit in the British Museum in 1812, it was displayed as proof of the Genesis flood. But that was 20 years before Lyell and nearly 50 years before Darwin. In 1881, the exhibit was quietly taken down to the basement and remains there to this day. Many giant skeletons have been found in or near Native American mounds and burial places. Native Americans have many legends regarding giants. Here are just a few. The Apache have a legend about Big Owl, a malicious and dangerous giant often used as a boogeyman in children's stories. In some Apache tribes, Big Owl also plays a more important mythological role as an early adversary of the War Twins. Like other legendary Apache beings, Big Owl is sometimes described as having a human form, in this case a man-eating org, and other times an animal form such as a large horned owl large enough to carry off a child. Kiwaka are the evil man-eating ice giants of southern Wabanaki legends. According to most legends, Kiwaka was once a human being who either became possessed by an evil spirit or committed a terrible crime, especially cannibalism or withholding food from a starving person, causing his heart to turn to ice. In some Abenaki legends, the stone giants were not transformed humans, but primordial man-eating monsters defeated by the cultured hero Glaskabi. Kalowa is a kind of hairy man-eating org from Creek mythology. Some recent Creek storytellers have translated it to gorilla. The Lofa is a malevolent org-like monster of Chickasaw folklore. His name literally means flayer or skinner, a reference to his gruesome habit of flaying the skin from his victims. In some legends, he attempts to abduct Chickasaw women. He is sometimes described as a giant, and other times as a large, hairy, smelly man, leading some people to associate him with the Bigfoot legend. Moshep is a giant who is the culture hero of Mohegan and Wampanoag tribes, sometimes referred to as a transformer by folklorists. Moshep is strongly associated with whales. In most tribal traditions, he would catch whales to feed the people, and in some stories, Moshep and his children eventually transform into whales themselves. Moshep has a wife named Squanit, who is a powerful medicine woman of the little people. The Champay is a malevolent org-like monster of Chickasaw folklore. In some legends, he attempts to abduct Choctaw women. In others, he is a man-eater. He is sometimes described as a giant, and other times as a large, hairy man, leading some people to associate him with the Bigfoot legends as well. His most salient feature is his smell. Champay's smell is so overpowering that a person cannot bear to be around him, making him difficult to fight. Stoneclad is a monster from Cherokee folklore. Details about Stoneclad vary from telling to telling. In some versions there is only one, while in other versions there is a whole race of Stoneclads. He is a stone-skinned giant like the stone coats of the northern Iroquois tribe. In all cases, he has rock-like plates of armor that protect him from fire, cold, and weapons. He's defeated only through sapping his magical power by destroying his talismans. Of course, many native legends could simply be stories made up to keep children in line. But most historians will tell you that legends are usually rooted in some truth. Native Americans who encountered giants would create stories to pass the incidents down in oral tradition. With the discovery of so many giant skeletons unearthed in the United States, it would have been impossible for Native Americans to have never encountered them. There is strong evidence that Native American folklore about giants is true. 7-foot-tall skeletons have been found in burial mounds of southeast towns that were home to the ancestors of the Creek Indians. As European settlers pushed across North America, newspapers printed stories about the discovery of giant skeletons. Some were described as being normal human beings, but very tall. Others had skulls with more primitive features. The most credible stories of giant skeletons were concentrated in the Appalachians, Cumberland Plateau, and Ohio Basin. They were typically found in graves lined with stone slabs or fieldstones, known as the stone box grave culture. In 1821, 7-foot-tall skeletons in stone-lined sarcophagus were found in a White County, Tennessee burial area. Legends from Midwest tribes tell of lightly pigmented yellow or red-haired giants living around the Great Lakes or southern Canada. Occasionally, these giants traveled south into their territories. While some encounters were benign, others resulted in warfare. The Cherokees claim to have killed the last tall white Indians while still living in Kentucky and West Virginia. Western pioneers sometimes found what they assumed were giant fossilized human skeletons along exposed banks and in caves. They described these skeletons as much thicker than modern humans. Some claimed the skulls had double rows of teeth. Several Western tribes tell of past confrontations with lightly pigmented giants with either blonde or red hair. The Paiutes claim that the giants were cannibals who hunted Paiutes for food. They repeatedly attacked the giants until their numbers dwindled. The surviving giants were cornered in a cave, then either shot with arrows or asphyxiated by setting a fire at the entrance. In 1754, George Washington was colonel of the Virginia Colonial Militia. When hostilities broke out with France, he supervised construction of Fort Loudon in Winchester, Virginia. Laborers digging the fort's foundation uncovered a cemetery of 7-foot skeletons and what appeared to be Native American artifacts. The skeletons were viewed and reported by Washington. It is not known what happened to them. This discovery gives credibility to reports of 7-foot-tall skeletons discovered in West Virginia, Kentucky, southern Ohio, and southern Indiana. Thousands of years ago, giants roamed the West. Their crude camps and ferocious ways terrorized the early native settlers that had wandered across the land bridge into the North American continent and traveled south and westward into what later became the West and Great Southwest of the United States. Tribes still speak of these ancient days when their ancestors fought desperate battles against the marauding, loping giants, some towering 12 feet tall or taller, that roamed the land, viciously attacking settlements, brutally carrying off screaming women and wailing children for food. Of all the Indian mounds that exist today, most have barely been investigated. The few gigantic skeletons found in some have been dismissed or suppressed as aberrations. 10 and 12-foot humans do not fit dogmatic theories. Usually, when giant skeletons are found, they're laughed off as hoaxes. Unfortunately, orthodox science has too much to lose by investigating the mounds thoroughly. Archaeologists cannot deny that the mound builders are real. What they deny are the things sometimes discovered inside the mounds. Over the past century and a half, it's been revealed again and again that some of the mounds and the small pyramids are the burial grounds of huge men, often 8 feet or taller, that had a very sophisticated culture. Some of the giants have been found wearing intricate leather armor and have been buried with swords. One such giant was found near Spiro Mound in Oklahoma during the 1930s.